All right. I think we're live. Hello,
Hello.
LinkedIn. Hi, Candice. This is so exciting. I'm jazzed to do this with you.
Very excited. Today I've honestly been itching. I've been sitting here probably for the past hour, like being like, oh my gosh, is it time yet? Is it time yet?
I know, right? This is so great. Thanks to anybody who's joining us today. Jump in if you have thoughts in the comments, but this is very much, this is conversation 2 in this Community Unplugged conversations that I had been having with people like Candice, who I have been so fortunate as to meet through the power of LinkedIn and the internet, who lives across the world, but we connected over community building and how challenging that work is, how wonderful that work is, and how little understood I think people are around the idea of community building. So, the goal from these conversations is to just highlight how other people are looking at community building and what we can learn from people who are successful community builders who have been involved in many cool projects. So, with that, Candice, I'm going to have you introduce yourself and, jump right into what you're doing now, but also maybe some of that community building journey that you've done to date.
Awesome. Thank you. Well, I'm Candice. You can call me Cans. That's normally how I go about it. But I am a community growth strategist. I basically help people build their communities from the ground up. That is more on my consultancy side. But I also run a community where I've recently refined our sort of positioning, and it's a community for change makers or people who want to make change in their industry by building businesses that change, that are community orientated, community businesses. So
Nice.
where my journey started is I've always been a teacher. Like, honestly, as long as I can remember, like when I used to force my brothers and my dolls to sit there, and I had a little board and I would give them pancakes as treats. I've always taught. And my very first job was teaching, literally in university still. I actually even taught at school. I did tutoring. So from there, I didn't know what to do after studying my BA in philosophy and linguistics. Um, so I basically started teaching English online because it was like a great like pause in between, and I got really bored teaching because it was like ABCs, but I really loved online and I loved the medium of it, and somehow got into e-learning, which got me into writing about e-learning and teaching people to write. And suddenly I was an event organizer. It was a very weird startup world
Love it.
that I was in. And I was actually very fortunate because I got to learn a very generalist skill set. And then came COVID. And, at that point, I was working for a community of 20,000 developers, helping them do amazing things. But then we had to go online. And also, I was an in-person event planner. So I
Okay.
basically got retrenched and had to figure out what next. No one wants events. I'm an event planner. How on earth do I find a job even? And that's kind of how I figured out, like, okay, everyone's going online. You got to pivot. Let's go online. I was really good at ops, and I'm such a nerd for tooling. So that was really easy for me to figure out, okay, how does all of these tools work, and to help these people get online and bring their marketing and businesses into the online space.
Yeah.
And that was a real great journey into community.
I love this. You know what's hilarious is I actually taught English as a second language for a while as well. I also
So
have I have a biology history degree, and like I feel like maybe there should be some research on people who become community builders who just kind of generally pick up and do fairly decently at many things, and then discover that it's the intersection of all of those, the teaching, the events, the I wonder if that's how community builders are formed, almost, by accident. Like, I wonder, it's so interesting that that's your
it
journey.
makes sense to me. I think we're really good at building connections between people, between things, and like I mean, I get very hyper focused on certain things, and when I learn how they work, I want other people to know if that's what they need, obviously. So I think because we're connectors, we can connect ideas as well as people.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and I think sometimes it's those connections between people that aren't necessarily as obviously tied right away to go, oh, hey, you're a marketer. Well, lots of people are marketers. What's the like next thread, right? That is actually the spot where real cool community starts, because it's obvious it's not always at that like high level. It's those next niche down. Oh, and they also love hiking. Oh, and this person also is a parent. It's sometimes like the intersection of those spots that you find the coolest communities.
Well, and habits, right? Because that's where we have our habits, and that's what brings us back. Because you don't come back like support communities, like they're the least retained communities. Like someone just goes there, give me an answer to my question, and they're out of there. They're not coming back. They're not coming to your webinars. They don't care.
Yeah.
It's really difficult to run that kind of community.
Absolutely. No, and you touch on, I'm sure we're going to dive more into the community conversation here. So I'll wait on this. But I always like to ask people about like a moment that you're proud of in your community work, because I think that's the thing that keeps all of us in this field.
I think honestly, it's 100% mentorship.
Yeah.
I've worked alone probably, I can't even, it feels like forever, 5 years now. I've worked just by myself and with online collaborators. And I
Yeah.
think the very first time someone came to me and they were like, I need you to mentor me. I need to learn what you know. And I was like, I don't have a curriculum. I don't have a course. I don't have any kind of qualification. I literally just like, I don't even know what you want to know from me. They were like, I just want you to sit on a call with me for an hour once a week, and I'll pay you. And I was like, sweet deal. And I honestly was like, that's like easiest money I ever made. And I never realized how addicting it would be. It is really bad, because I do a lot of free mentorship, and it has accidentally formed such great community bonds as well as skills for me.
Yeah.
So I'm so proud that I said yes to that one amazing lady who was just like, you know what? I like you. I've got 0 followers on LinkedIn. I don't know. Like, she didn't know me from a bar of soap. She was literally from
Yeah.
another country. And she was just like, I want to talk to you. And that, I'm so glad I said yes to that, because it blossomed.
That's so cool. And shout out to a cool series that you run called Scrappy Systems, because you and I chatted and you did kind of something similar for me, where you were going, I don't think most people know how, like what you're talking about. I don't think most people understand this. And you kind of just slowly put together in your own head as you build it out for yourself, particularly as someone in marketing, you find a way to make magic with very little. And we don't often then talk to somebody else or have someone else go, how'd you do that? Like, how did you pull this off? And so your Scrappy Systems conversations that you do, I've listened to a couple of them, beyond having to pull together one in my own head. How did I do this? I think it's so cool to sometimes have other people, feel that you have something of value. How do you explain it to them? And it actually helps your own process.
I think there's so many. We all think, what is the right way? I don't have the perfect way. And I love showing everybody that, like, just because that's the rule, just because how it's always been done, does not mean that's the way it should be. I'm so interested in the different. I'm so interested in, like, seeing and showing people that actually it's in the difference that we get that gold, that we get those interesting ideas. Because if everything was uniform, it would be so boring.
It would be so boring. You're so right. And I'm that beating that drum of like, you can do things in different ways. You know this, I'm in the nonprofit sector working heavily. And that is such a hard change to make, to go, well, we've always done it this way. Well, why though? And the world is changing so fast that I'm frequently going, well, I think we can't afford to do things the way we've always done them.
We can't.
We can't.
We cannot. And like, and okay, how long you gonna wait? You're gonna like doom scroll a little and then like look up again, and it's 5 years. I hallucinated or daydreamed through 9 years of my life. It was like, I woke up one day, I got out of a relationship. It was the biggest shock of my life, and I'm so grateful. It was like, I woke up and I never want to go through that kind of days. I always want to be awake and making intentional decisions. And that includes about like okay, this annoys me. Is that how it has to be? Is just because that's how, it always has been? Is there a better way? Just because it like I don't always have to beat myself into conformity. Maybe there's another way, because the way the world has been designed was for white men, to be honest. I mean, I'm a white person, so I have that definitely in my privilege, but I the world was not designed for everyone, and I can't wait to for it to be more diverse. There's so much opportunity for that.
I love that. And I think, the world came from community. There's so much, I mean, like my biology nerdy side is constantly like, you can find all these cool books about community and where we were and how people used to exist. And there's been a lot of intentional design to move us away from community, right? Because there's so much power in it. And now I feel like there's like this resurgence, rediscovery, and like your story is so beautiful. And this is going to go right into this question, because I can't wait to hear from you what the toughest challenge you see for communities right now as a community builder.
I think it presents in two different ways, right? Depending on if you're like a solo person building a community, or if you are an enterprise running a community, okay? Like as part of your business. And I think the biggest problem for small businesses, or for small communities, is they do not run their communities like a business.
Yeah.
And the problem for bigger communities is they are run too isolated from the rest of the business. They are run as a little tack on thing. Yeah, we have a community there, like one person in the room there doing crazy amounts of things. We think there's a webinar coming out sometime, like.
Yeah.
The problem is that these communities are built because that is the hottest thing right now, and they know that that is a channel. That is a great channel where people are, right? Like I'm not going to pay for ads on social media, so let me own my channel. Great. But they don't treat it like a business, and they like build this barn to run parties in, and then like they expect people to come like to it, and without them having to put in any effort or the right kind of strategy and the right kind of planning. And that is real. It's a real
Yeah.
problem.
Oh, you have just hit the nail on the head of the majority of conversations I think I have with people who are shocked that their community is not doing what they want it to do, right? Because there is that tension point between large businesses who see this as some sort of like tacked on way of stickiness, right? Like they're using community hoping it's going to be sticky and use it as like a product feature. But most people aren't coming to, a support group for community, right? Like, so you're kind of using that word, but that's not really what you're providing, or it needs an extra name added onto it or something. Because I think community still means something to a lot of us. And we think we're going there to find others who either care about the same thing we care about, or are having the same problems we're having, or there's different reasons we kind of stumble into community. And for sure, I'm running what is a smaller community, and it's very heavily human focused, relationship focused. It is incredibly hard to do that as a small community running it like a business, because you are so in deep and you love it so much. And I think there's
Yep.
those founders who do the community first, and then all these other potential opportunities follow. And they're at like the opposite end of the spectrum of these big businesses who had services product come first and then now are doing community.
Yeah, it honestly, you can't just have a community and say, this is my why. I'm here because of X. And I think
Yeah.
that's the problem. We always say, start with your why. Start with your why. And like I actually read it in literally a book I'm reading today on community. Start with why. I was like, that's ridiculous. No one starts with a holistic why. You retroactively create your why, and you actually create a unique value proposition for every unique member in your journey based on their unique goals and their user journey.
Yeah.
It's not one single, and the models we're using of like, what is your why? If you're going to stick to one why, it's a problem. You need an actual proper framework that's got real strategy. And like, there's one I love. Okay, I've learned it recently because I'm part of this founder community, because I'm not going to go do an MBA, and business is my weakness.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I will learn via osmosis and contacts of these smart business people. So I basically went and they did this talk on what is called the 4 fits model. And it is a very simplified version of basically like the business value model canvas, which honestly I've looked at it, and every time I'm like, oh my gosh, that gives me a headache. I could never do that. So the 4 fits model is basically, there are 4 pillars that you need to plan for. The one is market. It is your audience. It's your total addressable market. You also have to do proper market research and user research to get your actual total addressable market, because you have to figure out who is actually available in the market, who is actually loyal to your competitors. That, if you're really getting into it, that is, your market. Then you've got your product. This is what people buy. Okay, this is your course. This is your mentorship, your services. That is your actual product. Now, that is a whole, you need a product builder to tell you like how like that works properly. But then you get the model. Now, this is your pricing, your offer, how do you sell this to your community? What is your operation? How do you execute on your product? How do you execute towards your market? How do you reach them, right? So that's where you get model product fit, model market fit, product market fit. And the last one is channel. Most people think that a community is just a channel, and this is your mistake. Social media, one social media platform is a channel, okay? You might have a channel strategy, that is your marketing strategy, but a channel, you might have to have a different channel for every product. You might have to have a different channel for every market. And I think that this is the most useful model I'm trying to learn and implement right now as my way. Okay, we don't screw the why. Okay, you've all got your own reasons for being here. I get paid. Most people, I get paid to be here. Okay.
Yeah.
So now let's get aligned on the actual facts of what we're selling and what we're building, and then go from there, because then anyone can be motivated as long as we're pulling in the same direction. And whatever your motivation, it doesn't really matter, because you're all fueled by whatever motivation towards what you're building.
I love that. I feel like I'm in therapy right now as a small business founder. Like, thank you for this. So helpful. I'm sure others are going to watch this and be like, oh, right. Because I think that is sometimes the challenge for community builders if you're a really person heavy community builder and you're like, it's all about the people. And for sure, why I do this is there is a why sometimes as founders too. Like, why did you start this? Well, I've got a million reasons why. And it is hard to marry that business, community, personal journey mindset all into one location. Can be really challenging. So I think this is fantastic. And you pointed out one of the biggest things that I think so many people are finding a challenge is that they're looking at community as a channel, and it's just another place to talk at an audience that is somewhat captive, right? And then the fact of the matter is people are like, no, I'm not here just to listen. I'm here to be in community. I'm participating. There's a verb to the word community that we all ignore in this like passive mindset of what community is. And it's like people want to be doing in community. Sometimes that's a forum, sometimes that's a conversation. But if it's a webinar, how can you get your community members into the webinar, right? Like, and all of those different pieces. And I think that's the part that really often gets confused in community.
It really does. And like, you need a common dialogue, right? Whether it's with yourself. I mean, I honestly need something to keep me accountable, but from week to week sometimes, because as a solo founder, you could change your mind between breakfast and lunch, honestly. So you honestly need a source of truth. So if you have, a really good strategy and a really good plan, and your team, if you're in a business too, then you can set metrics that are actually aligned, and that you can report on metrics that are actually aligned. And then it's not like but they belong, and like you're not measuring. And I think the problem is, right, if you're a community person and you're measuring channel and a market, your audience, right, if those are the two things you're measuring, but where your business is actually measuring the success of your model and your pricing and you like the returns and the value of your product and the improvements and the success of it, that's what, like, can you see why those are misaligned? Because business cares about these two quadrants, whereas as a community, we tend to care about these. And like, you can't be so siloed. It's not smart.
This is fantastic. I love this. So many great sound bites coming out of this already. Now, we kind of already started into some of this already, but like, where are these opportunities as a community builder? Like, why should we care about continuing to build community?
I honestly struggle every day to wake up and look at social media. I miss my family. They live across the world. I'm the only one in South Africa. We have the biggest pandemic of loneliness. Like, people are so alone, yet so online and so highly connected in the wrong ways. They're not building real connections that sustain them. And like, I honestly, our planet is sick. Our people are sick. Like, our world needs help. And community builders, I think, need to step up and be like, help create opportunities for people to heal, because what is going to heal us is not sitting in front of a TV. It's not doctors. It's not medicine. It's going to be getting together with people and getting back to nature and integrating our technology in a way that works with nature. And that only comes when people collaborate in new and interesting ways, because they've created these new spaces for them to think differently, experiment differently. And I mean, like, now I personally, like, this is why I've got like my community for people who want to change the world. I'm like, I'm tired of working for someone else. I really want to be able to, especially a big corporate, you know, like, I see people around me every day. I want to help them. I want to like help my family, and I want that to enrich the people around me. And so I think that, like, as community builders or as individuals, we have the power to step up. And like, you don't have to run a government. You don't have to like run for government. You can step up for the people around you and be like, we believe in this and we're going to make our space better. Don't wait. Like, why are we waiting? Like, why we need permission anymore? Like, honestly, those systems don't work. Those structures don't work, and we're running out of time. And I honestly think individuals need to like, we need to like not fall into the Black Mirror trap, you know, don't fall into the like social media distractions. Like, don't consume, rather create through community, create connections like that. Honestly, like, I see a world that could be so beautiful if we just do that.
Well, I think one of the coolest things for me, having built a community, is I feel more hopeful about the future because I'm in community, because I have other people who, similar to yourself, all over the world, connections. I mean, you and I think someone posted about you on LinkedIn, and then I started to go and check you out, and I was like, oh my goodness, I'm just going to reach out and say, I think you're awesome, because I understand that that is not a trait that we actually foster societally right now, to just be curious about other humans who are doing cool things. We don't do that. We don't encourage it. Like, and there are some of us who have not been, either we come by it naturally or we're not been broken down by the system enough to go, well, I still want to meet cool people. Like, I just want to say hi. And that is something that community offers us, is that opportunity to learn about other people. Why, I know now we're back to whys, but why do they come into community? Why do they care about eco initiatives? Why do they care about neighborhood associations? Community is where we find that connecting point with other humans to, I guess, make a plan for what we're going to do next. But to do it by yourself is so exhausting, and so it can feel very defeatist very quickly if you're trying to change the world by yourself.
I've tried. I wish I had a cloning machine. I've tried sleeping up, like no, not sleeping. I've made myself sick, trying to burn myself out, doing more than one person can. You cannot. You have to live in a sustainable way. I'm learning. I'm trying. I'm like learning, but I really think that, like, just I think connection, a little bit more than that, is empowerment, because it gives you the power of a group, the power of validation, the power of like not feeling like, what's the point, because I'm one person and like my opinion doesn't matter and that's how it's always been done and no one else cares. But when you're there and maybe there's 5 other people who care, you're like, I don't care, we care, let's
We
go.
care. Yeah,
It's
absolutely.
validating, it's empowering.
It is validating. That's a perfect word for it. I think community can be very validating. And yeah, the loneliness piece, again, back to that loneliness, right? And how in the age of being able to connect with everyone, if we wanted to, how do we feel so lonely? So anyways, love all of this. Oh my goodness, Candice, this has been already way too much fun. I always, again, really love to hear from someone like yourself who is doing the work. What is that one piece of advice you'd give to someone who is either just on their community building journey as a community builder, or is interested in building community and is kind of struggling on what is the most important thing, or a piece of advice you'd give?
I think we always want to build the perfect thing and the most exciting thing and something that is perfect. And I think I'm very guilty of that many times over with my community. I'm like, we're launching this amazing community and then we're launching the final version now. And now we're launching, actually now's the final version and now's our final version. And like, I think instead of getting obsessed with your product, you should get obsessed with solving your problem. Get obsessed with how that problem is solved and then run experiments about how your market likes to engage with that problem, how your product can address that problem, how your channel can best reach the people who like have that problem, and then what model best facilitates it. I really believe it. Like, I've seen an amazing community. Like, it's a local community here in South Africa. It's 2 founders who were senior tech people at 2 big companies, but they in their spare time realized that we have load shedding in South Africa. We used to, and we never knew when our power was going to go off. And so they made an app for it. And for 5 years, they never made a single cent because they got obsessed with building, and not building a beautiful product that investors would buy, that people would use. Even if they wanted to change things, they did, and they didn't care if people were upset. They were like, great feedback, let's go. Because they didn't have any money from it. It was a side project. They have 4.5 million members now. That has also turned into a community app in South Africa. It's one of the biggest community apps in South Africa. And now obviously they can monetize that. They actually have done multiple years of validating. They were in the position that they could bankroll that with their full-time jobs, obviously. So great. But if you're in the position where you can experiment, don't launch this massive, I'm going to launch this business. Run one mini cohort. Run one matching program. Teach one person your course. That is your first version, Test that. If you like it, then go with that model. You're like, cool, I like this model. It works with my audience. Like, test those things and then commit. Like, you really don't have to go to that big journey up front. You don't have to have the big why, but rather get those fundamentals right so that you have a solid baseline. Yeah, that would be my goal.
I think that's so great. And I know you are one of those brilliant people who finds a way to talk about systems in a way that I'm not a systems thinker whatsoever. But you find this great connecting point with all the, this is why I called it soul and systems, because you bring those 2 things together so beautifully in community. And I think that is the thing. It does not need to be perfect. If anything, community is messy, and it also needs to be flexible, because community changes with your community members, right? Like, the communities I've seen who've tried to put, no, this is the only way you can engage, this is the only thing we talk about, they struggle, because guess what? People don't do well that way. We're not automations that you can just run.
Do you know prescriptive versus descriptive? We should be more descriptive, like learn from people, take feedback and adjust course. Don't prescribe. No one liked those teachers that were like, hey, do it like this, do it like this. That's not a class you wanted to be in, guys. Like
I was going to say, here's a friend of mine, Elena, and she's like, all of this, right? Like, it's so true. You're just brilliant. I always love talking to you, Candice. So this was amazing. We've already gone way over what I thought because I knew there was no way we were going to be able to keep this to 20 minutes. But for people who would like to get in touch, follow along with your journey, and I'll make sure to put it in some notes and add links as well. Where can they find you?
Of course. Well, I have a blog and a newsletter at candidcollab.com. I send it out every week. I send out a newsletter or I publish a blog on basically building community marketing and growth systems. And so I'll share those journeys there. I also run some events. I have my Scrappy Systems podcast. We're going to be doing a very different iteration of that, but we also explore, again, similar things, systems-led community building. So you can follow me there or reach out on LinkedIn. Honestly, I'm quite a friendly person. That's how we met, Tasha. I love that kind of thing.
Me just randomly making friends on the internet where I'm just like,
I love
it. It's too cool to not reach out to.
And look what came of it. Honestly, I think more people should say hello to strangers in a nice way.
Right, exactly. Well, thank you so much. This was brilliant. I feel like you just have hit the nail on the head of so much of the goodness that can come out of community and where some of the pitfalls are just kind of happening right on the road there. So thank you for coming and doing this with me, Candice.
Thank you for having me. Thank you. And thank you for everyone for joining.
Yay, wonderful.